Okay, so just to recap where we're at. Today, well, yesterday technically, kind of, we're starting sprint 3. This sprint is only 2 weeks long because we're heading into feature freeze. The goal is to get a release out by the end of May, and so our next sprint is a little bit over 2 weeks, right? So we had to kind of share and divide between that. So end of the sprint on 5/12 is going to be feature freeze. So make sure all of your changes are merged by then. We've been very good in the last release, so it makes very little to no exceptions, which makes Ray very happy. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, let's get.
As I build a 1/8 payment, yes.
Yes, and maybe we'll save the end of the discussion for that.
Okay.
Right? How far back do we need to support releases? Because we need to make sure that as changes get in and fixes get in, how far back do we push the changes? Okay, so let's get started. We'll start with platform. Don, I think.
Yeah, I guess I can start. So the first issue there is bug that I think popped up with some of the changes we've been making to connections, either ONOS or copycat. The next two are investigating some test failures and some of the things that we have right now. And I guess there's still a bug. It's been the last 2 weeks. Missing after node disconnects from the cluster. I assume you plan on looking at it before that. And then the one below that, I have not been able to reproduce it, but I will either close it or add how to reproduce it to that. That ticket. I think we fixed it by bumping up to craft 308. But, and then the rest. Well, so the very last one is just updates for really quickly.
Great.
And I guess Jordan.
Yeah, and then so the transaction one, that's just left over from the last sprint, and just that stuff's mostly done. There's a couple subtasks in there that are just making their way through review. And then the last thing is the 6396. So we've been noticing sort of in a lot of the HA failures, you see timeouts in one part of the system cascade to other parts of the system. So that's sort of encapsulating primitives copycat sessions from each other so that timeouts in one session doesn't cause timeouts in other sessions. So.
Okay, and then there's still the issue that Sarah is seeing, right? So
right.
I'm down today, so I saw the first set of logs, and I think there's going to be another set. So
yeah, so we need to verify that it's still happening with the changes we've been doing over the last few days, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, because on that side we're running out of runway for
yep.
the release.
When is 185? Or I guess when is when is board planning on?
Mid May. So May 15th, we get RCs over there. There are 2 outstanding issues over there. This is one of them. So
okay.
We'll do an RC once we get this in on the other side.
Actually, there are some performance-related tickets I want to bring up. I'm not sure whether we want to work on that in this sprint or not, because that's
the white paper.
Yes, the white paper, everything. So one is the flow objective defect. Now it's assigned to what? Oh, okay. So this 6181. Not sure. Anyone want to take this or not?
So that's also for, talks also about intent, right?
Right.
Specifically with objectives. Intent with flow objectives as well.
So is this the thing we discussed?
No.
Yeah, so this is another one again.
Right. Basically, intent for objective is very small.
You know at what point in time did that was
From the beginning.
What you mean from the beginning?
This.
When they
Yeah.
We talked about that.
Yeah.
But I think we said flow objectives is the more primary use case, right, rather than flow rules. And so we're doing the performance white paper. This wasn't in the white paper originally, but.
But I mean, we do really much more there, right?
Hmm?
My point is just we do really much more there, right? Than what we do in flow rules.
Have we profiled the flow objective subsystem and compared it to the flow rule subsystem?
You mean,
Not intent-based flow objectives, but just flow objectives. Because I think we start there, right? Let's get a performance test. I mean, if we care about this, right? I don't know if we do. But let's do flow objectives testing first and see whether, because before you, I mean, the intent parameter is going to add an additional layer of complexity, right? But yeah, I mean, if we care about putting a performance paper, we should probably have some flow objective tests. See what the performance is there, and then this might be actually reasonable.
So plus we simply go through one more subsystem, right?
And
Well,
the subsystem goes through another couple layers of drivers, and yeah.
We do something more. So, I mean, I'm just saying that we should expect that this works, of course, then flow rules.
Yeah.
Intent with flow rules.
yeah, but no, I don't know, because it's kind of 50 times worse.
Well,
Yeah, but, sure, but like Brian said, we start with flow objectives.
Okay.
I thought that we already have flow objective performance, on a list.
Okay.
Or maybe I misunderstood. I was maybe, because we discussed this in the beginning of the planning, right?
Right.
And I thought we were discussing performance of the flow objective subsystem, not intent subsystem in presence of flow objective.
Okay,
So maybe I misunderstood, so.
okay, the test is about intent.
Yeah, the white
Okay,
paper.
so, so
It's
maybe I
not bound.
misunderstood then, but I definitely agree with Brian that we should be measuring flow objective in isolation and then perhaps only in contrast with flow rules first.
Okay.
And only once we've done that, it makes sense to look at flow objectives. Because clearly the flow objective-based compilers are going to inherit any inefficiencies that are in flow objective subsystems, so we need to eliminate those first.
Okay.
Or establish, I mean, if you measure flow objectives and say, well, there's actually no overhead, the problem lies somewhere else, well, then it's excruciatingly easy to figure out what the problem is in the compiler.
Yeah.
But my guess is that that's actually not the case. It's probably going to be somewhere in flow objectives.
I see.
So, maybe you're going to do this?
There are some other, for this one.
Let me get the comment in.
Yeah,
So, this is going to you.
okay.
Very fine. But I think there was also a question around whether the white paper, we include flow objectives or not, right? So do we want to make that call later to determine how to prioritize these issues? because initially the plan was to add this to the existing white paper.
So, my point is that wouldn't the objective at this point more important than framework? Yes. I mean, all the, don't take it wrong, the serious applications, serious deployments we have aren't those just based on flow objectives for now.
I think the fabric is using this objective.
Yeah,
But then you are using intent, I'm using intent, but
That's fine, but you're not dealing with.
that's why I think very take it wrong. But I think we didn't deploy that, right? Yet. Or yes? Yes. So,
So long term, it would be nice to have intents on flow objectives, and it would be nice to have flow objectives by themselves. But given the fact that we don't have flow objectives by themselves, I would say that would be the priority. So we should start there. The question is, should we include them or not in the next generation white paper?
Yeah.
Are we ready to include them? I would say only if we're ready. If we're not ready, then I guess it is just update the white paper for the existing metrics and leave it at that, and perhaps schedule work for adding the flow objectives next.
So I think that's the decision I want to come to. So
That's what I'm trying to propose that as a decision.
Keep pushing this.
I'm just trying to propose that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because there's still value in updating the white paper. Right.
There are other two. Yeah, can we move to other?
Let me-
The full name, maybe Wiley or something. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Two other regressions. I think Jordan is working on that, but I'm not sure if he want to take the tickets.
Number.
6380. This is something introduced from last Friday, I think. And I talked to Jordan. I'm not sure whether it's going to fix this in the next sprint or later.
Yeah, so 6396 that I have in this sprint should be the solution to this problem.
Wait, so what is it tied to?
639.
I'll fix it later.
Also 6347. Also, Jordan has been working on this, so might be fixed by his copycat change.
Jordan?
Yeah, I think this one is hopefully fixed by the changes that are going in today.
Okay.
But we need more testing, so yeah.
So the task done.
I haven't been able to reproduce it at least. So.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, there's another one related to the NOS fund. We can talk about that when we go to NOS fund.
Okay.
Ranking.
Okay, I think the only one left in this was. Andrea?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that is basically some guy from the community that stepped up and did dispatch, and it's already on Garrett. I'm gonna review it, and it's there because there's no K-Sprint southbound, so I just put it there.
Okay. Or just redoing it.
It's just to track the approach.
And this is actually already work in progress, just as to providing mechanisms to have a more coordinated startup with respect to rolling drivers. It's pending review right now.
Okay.
But I want to make sure we represent the work.
GUI, Simon?
Sorry, was muted. Yeah, so the top one, 6259, is left over from last sprint, and it's implementing the server side, the back end of the highlighting of traffic on Topo 2, and kind of partnered with that is 2/3 of the way down, 6387. Stephen will be working on the client side of highlighting that. Everything else is pretty much bug fixing or minor cleanup. And we feel pretty good that we can get this done in these 2 weeks. Are there any specific questions that people might have? Okay, so yeah, that's the UI side.
Okay, thanks, Simon.
Sure.
Virtualization?
Okay, so for this sprint, we will start to investigating, started to investigate on virtual gateway to allow external connectivity for virtual network, and also we consider to introduce the distributed to support efficiently distributed multiple ONOS instance in terms of virtual network. We also focus on the mastership service in this sprint, and also some minor picks, and yeah, and also but now we have some only 3 core members are active. So in this sprint, so we will we decided to reassign the role of the so one of our active member, I suggest to move to focus on the OpenFlow agent that allows to external connectivity and allows to OpenFlow sorry to allow external controllers through OpenFlow protocols. So yeah, so but that part was actually implemented by Hansen, but Hansen is now quite busy, so I asked to Claudine, one of the members, and Claudine said yes, he will look at it about the OpenFlow agent, so she will preparing something. So in this list, on this list, so she don't have that much the assigned task, but she will look at it. So, yeah, that's it.
So we're in the fast sprints before we freeze, right? So from a virtualization feature standpoint, is OF agents going to be done?
Actually, I'm not sure, but yeah, I think the planning will be a little bit delayed within 1 or 2 sprints. We need 1 or 2 sprints. Need 1 or 2 sprints more to complete what we proposed at the planning. Because actually we set up the planning with 8 full development members, but now only we have 2 or 3 active members, so it's critically affected to the planning. So I think
Do we need David to recruit more people?
Yeah, so actually I suggested we had a discussion about the current situation. So yeah, we're still on the middle of this discussion, how we will recruit more member, or we finish the proposed the features on this case sprint, and then we prepare another maybe season 2 virtualization brigade with a new features, or I think we need a kind of renewal or restructuring of our brigade system. So and we're still discussing about what will be the best strategy to encourage the people to
Okay, because it seems like there's a lot of things that you're working through versus like a full vertical.
Yeah.
It looks like you're starting.
Yeah, we have a lot of items, but always the lack of the member.
I just don't know if it's worth it to just try to finish off one vertical versus starting on
Yeah, so
other
we
features, right?
close something, the fundamental features which provide the support services, and then we will handle some more subtle and sophisticated tasks such as embedding or some more optimization tasks in later.
Yeah, because then after maybe finish off OS agents and not start on the internet connectivity.
Yeah.
Or
And so now current status is as I make show the demo in the ONS, so the core services are I think almost finished to implement, but it still remains some bugs or some in extreme cases it has some bugs, so we will fix about the bug and then we will move to the optimization process.
yeah, we can talk more about that too. Dynamic configuration. So, dynamic configuration hasn't participated.
Yeah, no, that's a little bit of a problem. I know that there's been some efforts proposed on us to button things up between the 1.11 and the 1.12, but subject I haven't had much involvement with Patrick from Patrick. While there is some traffic in proceeding at the state right now.
Does dynamic configure continue this release? Or is it just a subset of what we wanted to have?
Well, so we'll have to make a call in 2 weeks whether we want to move forward with 1.11, which was effectively in Java, and neuter the 1.12, which is what was used for ONS demos. Or if they will achieve the long-term objective, which was to basically deprecate the 1.11 and move forward with 1.12. But that requires that certain work be done on 1.12 to at least, maybe not necessarily provide full backwards compatibility, but at least to provide a suitable landing spot for users of the Yen tools to land on 1.12. Right now it's not there. And they're moving towards that, but I'm not sure at what pace. And it's not something that I feel that we in here have the ability to do.
So we'll talk more tomorrow about it.
Yep.
Okay, deployment.
Yeah, I think we have just these very factoring, so the application is complete. We are going through the review process. I really don't see anything else on our side. We want to conclude what we are doing for the release. So also he will be free for other stuff. So, but we are at a good stage with the review. So.
Okay. Packet obstacle.
So, okay, I guess I'll just go one by one. I guess the first one is not strictly speaking packet optical, but it falls under that broader umbrella of
using netconf to drive devices, and we ran into some problems.
Yeah, I can think about that.
Yeah, if you want to.
So basically, the old library that we were using for the netcom subsystem was like a year and a half not supported anymore. Completely was sitting there, no more active people working on it. So there was a discussion, and that's actually another ticket over there, to change it, and we will probably change it to Apache Mina, and I have a draft patch that me and Yuta were looking at, and I also sent it to another guy that needed to use it for like testing some new connection with his devices to speed it up, and I actually got some results this morning. From 90 seconds he got down to 30. So it's actually pretty good. I have a draft patch, and just to track the work, it's done. We're gonna change it to Apache Mina probably during this sprint.
Okay, and it's going to take 8 story points to do all that?
I thought it would be more complicated. It's actually already working, but I can size it down if you want.
Okay, because 8 is like the whole sprint.
Yeah, well, yes. That's basically my work for the whole sprint.
Ah.
With a couple of them.
This means I take your name off all the other ones.
I'll size it down.
Okay.
Okay, that was the first ticket. Then the next 3 are really close to being done. They kind of spilled over from the last sprint. 2 have to do with the PCE components that we use. Well, it's a generic component, but we added some fixes that were specific to packet optical in terms of protection strategy that we wanted to implement. And same for the open road, and that's a little trickier because it hinges on the dynamic config. But I think we're close. Okay. Then there's the testing piece on that as well, which is 5351. Utah is finishing an OpenFlow driver. It's driven through a device, but it's again broader. It can be applied in a broader way because it's an OpenFlow 1.4 driver section. And the first ones we're trying out above 1.3. Then 2 scrubbing kind of activities. 5321 is discussed as really the same one as the top one, I guess. Andrea just talked about. And actually, Andrea, you pulled in something else about the line and
yeah, there was this little bit of discussion yesterday we had, and the alarm subsystem, especially the alarm ID, is not up to spec on what we want. It's just a little refactor around those 2 classes to properly maintain and update alarms in the core. Very simple, straightforward.
Yeah. I guess in summary, most of this work is kind of stabilizing work, and there's no really new features anymore coming in. So I think we're in good shape for the future.
Then Hussein added a few items. I think their focus was on trying to get VLAN loads, ports, and OBS NATs, and then updating the wiki for that. Northbound?
Want to take it? Should I take it?
You can take it.
Oh, okay. I think we have, so for the white paper, we have different checks that needs to be done. I think probably this will take some time also from Brian, if we want to have the white paper and answer.
To run for that ticket to this sprint.
But do we want it? Is it a priority?
For the white paper, yeah.
Okay, so if we want a white paper and those things should be solved, there are 2 people that can answer those questions, right?
Okay,
Well,
so
potentially a bunch, but
more context. What are we talking about?
intent regression. Performance, yeah.
What's broken?
It's 5683, the throughput test regression.
So we had a meeting yesterday. There are at very high level two kind of works that need to be done, right? One on the QA side that needs to basically review the steps performing the test and verify the correctness of the test. Right? And the second one on the intent framework side, that should, again, go through the code and understand what's going on. That could require 1 day or more, you know. So, if we decide performances are a priority in the white paper, performances of the intent framework, so we should account some time for at least Brian, E, QA people to work on this. Yeah, there was an idea of what patch should have generated the error, but, you know, then many other things came in, so we should do more investigation anyway.
You're at 50%?
25. Yeah, we need to be updated. So at first it was 50 and it was kind of half fixed.
So now we're at 25%
25.
first, or
Oh, I wish it was better. I wish it was better.
25 is better than 50?
Yeah.
Thomas, can we live with this in the white paper? Or do we fix it? First thing is releasing a white paper.
I mean, are the numbers a reflection of fixing the functionality? Because, you know, we've discovered since last time we published my paper, we discovered some correctness.
Well, exactly. So that's exactly the problem, right? Also here, we need to, that's why they need to verify exactly what the new test, well, they know, of course, what the new test does, but they need to go through it, we need to look at the details, and then. Sure, no, I'm fine, as long as but we're accounting time of people, right?
We know we want a white paper, and we know we want to understand our performance, and we want to know what our options are related to that performance, right? So some of our primary claims, right, is high performance, right? I think we should want to feel proud about what our, knowing what our performance is.
So the problem is that we are at the time where we weren't even able to have clear if what we were testing was the proper measurement.
Sorry, I think that's
Bill, I think the if part why I've been heavy on that is because the question really is just like what is it? We'll take it out of the meeting, fine.
Okay, so
Sure.
anyway, talking about just tasks, if we want to address this, of course it takes time. So it's just the planning, so that's why I mentioned that.
So I thought that this was a march towards getting the white paper finished, and so if we don't, I mean, so we should continue to make progress towards that. But that, to me, that's somewhat separate from a release.
Well, so I think the question that Yen asked you, Thomas, is say the number is 25% or 50% or whatever that number is. Is that number 50% or 25% of a regression a blocker for publishing the white paper?
No, I don't think so. But
okay.
I mean, or we can have a separate discussion about it, but I don't think so.
Okay.
Because I mean, there is both issues of correctness, which could easily account for 25%, and we should be able to say, yeah, they're regressed because we discovered some correctness. The numbers are still pretty good. But I mean, you set a baseline. It doesn't. There's nowhere in there that says we have to get better and better. My opinion.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah. I just wanted to understand whether the results of these investigations, not just this one, the other ones as well, are blockers for the publication of the data.
Yeah, I don't think they're blockers. I think for me, the point of the white paper is to to update the numbers and to potentially, both update it with respect to current numbers and with respect to addressing some of the outstanding items which have been marked in the white paper specifically as notes for further investigation. And so we simply eliminate some of the notes, maybe add new ones. But there's value in that. But the question is, if we feel we're not in a coherent spot where we can actually say we've addressed all those points, then let's postpone it and then still keep working on it. But I think we should separate the release from the white paper.
Wait, but, okay.
Well, to me, it's working towards that goal. We're working towards that goal by addressing and tracking defects.
So what do you mean by separating the release from the white paper? The white paper
Yeah, that's
release at
the
end
thing
of
I
the
don't
sprint?
get right.
The Kingfisher releases, we should be able to go out door, and the white paper should go out on the outer door on its own time frame.
What's
But I
that
understand.
time frame?
But
Like what time frame are we targeting?
when we feel it's sufficiently coherent, right?
So white paper should be aligned to a release because it has to say what the performance of that release.
Of course not, but it can go, it can be released.
Either it aligns to this release.
But it doesn't have to be the release time.
But the fixes, so the performance is based on what we release.
Then that means that you want to put fixes in and it isn't associated with that release, right?
So the paper could go out 2 weeks after the release. It doesn't have to be on the date, but it's based on the performance of that release.
Yeah, if we get to a release date, then we agree to more fixes, we agree with all the numbers, all looks good, it's just a matter of writing words. Sure. But if we're looking at it, it's like these numbers don't make sense at all, and we're gonna have to keep. I don't know.
I mean, so specifically with respect to throughput regression, we've been over that one before, right? It's a combination of measurement methodology, which we've modified slightly, as well as we've known that there were boatload of issues we fixed in Blackbird time frame. So I would not, and plus additional functionality being added into the system, which adds extra weight. So as far as that regression of performance, I think we can, in my view, we should be able to explain it in those terms. So it's a regression, but it's accounted for by these things.
But that's where we want to arrive, right? But we don't have a specific rationale now why. So we can say it's a mix of different things, but no one here says, we can say regression, there's a regression of 25% because we added A, B, and C. If that's the case, totally fine, right?
And so this is why I was thinking that's why I was saying divorcing the release from the paper, because it's just this time it's just really just a question of words, not actually doing anything on the code.
Well, no, because we are not sure the code is correct. We are not sure the test is correct. And we are not sure, we didn't count how many, well, more or less at high level, how many features we added.
I think we should go with what Bill suggested, which is schedule a separate meeting for this spiral out.
Okay.
So let's separate this
So
from the
we're
release.
saying, let's do that. I'll make this note, and I think what we're trying to figure out is what's hot, right?
Yeah, the only thing we should figure out, even in the next meeting, is since we are here to account also our time, right? If we want to spend in the next week, say we want to work on the white paper, we understand that this takes time. It's not something we do in 1 hour after work, right? It takes time of different people. So either we want to go in one way or the other, this meeting or another meeting, let's just decide it. We account the time for it. It doesn't come for free, of course. We decide it and we do it, right? It's a priority or not.
So separate meeting.
I think we should do separate meeting. And clear, I mean, yeah.
Okay.
Oof, and this was just one story.
Anything else here?
No.
Okay.
It was a difficult one. As they say, that's the right answer. Let's see. Yeah, I think the other big thing here is the intent installer redesign, which we would like to see completely by the end of the sprint. Reason why is that, again, probably will move to new stuff, so it would be good if we sprint,
How,
and we try to make it.
how close is the code being done? When is the?
We have the document, so.
So the concern here, I presume, behind the question is whether we're gonna be able to converge some of the
Review and merge
feature things.
by the end
Sure,
of this
that,
year.
to me, that would be more of an important thing. That would be talked about.
Yeah, also I'm waiting the domain intent.
Yeah, that's the main
So
thing.
we should probably, these main precautions, probably that sort of make sure we don't dig it up to where we can't put it back together again. So, and if we feel like we need to maybe, if there's risk, then let's push it over to the outer. Just make sure these, I mean, I'm not saying, I'm saying to keep that in mind, not necessarily to hesitate on it. If you think that it's perfectly fine to finish by here, please move ahead. Yeah.
I guess what I wanted to make sure of is, when is the code going to be done? Do you have reviewers lined up? Make sure it gets merged by the
You mean?
tree.
So in 2 weeks, we will do the feature freeze, right? Okay, so in 2 weeks means no more features in theory, also in practice, should agree. Right,
And
so.
already be reviewed and merged by that.
So if we believe that that's feasible, right, then we should try, we should do it. And it's fine to probably overcommit also a bit, as we usually do. If we already say, well, we do, there's nothing wrong in overcommitting a little bit, right? But I'm saying if it's completely not feasible, and we already think it's totally crazy, let's prioritize things we can do by then, and let's work on the solidity of the code.
So part of the reason why I'm asking this is, we do need to review it. Are they going to review it in this release? Is it going to go in? I want to make sure it's timed out.
Well, the only variable here is the intent domain stuff, right? So I asked also Michele we're trying to speed up a little bit on the review of the intent domain, and it's going in a good direction, but I mean, you know, we're tight on time, right? So,
So is something blocking this, and is there anything we can or
just
should do
intent domain,
to define?
which are already in as code, and we are already reviewing that, so it's moving forward.
Yeah.
And we are trying to speed that up, but it's what
Okay.
it is.
I think those are the concerns, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
Reviewed, merged, and then make sure it doesn't risk.
I guess on the intent framework anyway, these are the last things we have on the plate for now, right? So I think we can just see, and if we're out of time for the feature freeze, we're lucky, great, and we merge it. If we're not, we already did a bunch of work, and we will be,
Continue with it and get into the
we'll
next
be
release.
continuing next
And master.
release, yeah.
Okay.
Other big part is finishing the, Jordan, his work on the and so on. And so if that happens, I think I can coordinate with him, and I can record the bandwidth allocation part and bring it also to VPLS, which would be trivial at that point. It's not a big change, it's like 20 lines of code, but I need first the updates in place.
You're also targeting K for that.
Mm-hmm.
You're also targeting K. Okay.
From the test side, the first and third story should be done today or tomorrow. And then the second story is adding protected intent test. And then the last one is adding the test specifically for resource management.
Anything else? Aaron, do you have PC?
Okay. So the first story is, it's in, a lot of these stories are actually in progress. The first one is kind of a blocker in terms of testing, because we can't, it's very difficult for us to bring up bring up a version of ONOS that includes our models until we have bug build set up correctly. So it's in progress, but not quite done yet. The topology service is actually also in progress. I need to mark that. So that sort of explains the number here. The link service is in progress and actually pending merge. The host service has not been, so that was just taken on yesterday. So that's new. But generally, there's just a lot of these are in progress already. And we'll be, hopefully, once we're unblocked, we can start testing them and sort of, as a first step to figuring out where we stand and if this is a reasonable way to design our sound system. And I'm not sure, should I go through them one by one? They're mostly redundant. It's just like build this service, build that service.
I think that's fine.
Yeah. There's other additional details I should provide.
No, I think we're good. Any questions?
I had a quick question. So how many active members do you have working on this stuff?
Right now, four.
Okay.
4 people who have actively taken tasks. Other people who are saying they want like a little more information on this and that before they grab one.
All right, thanks.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. Build and package. Brian,
Yeah, can you refresh, I think? So there's a couple different areas that this brigade is going to be working on. The first thing is going to be, Zach is going to be doing some experimentation with repo. We're going to take 1 or 2 apps from ONOS samples. Out of ONOS samples, we've already created a new project to host the manifests, and so I think he'll be working on that. And then, I mean, the next question is around kind of like POM obsolescence. There's 3 bugs here that we pulled in. That's support for the legacy Yang rules, embedded dependencies, protobufs. If you scroll down to the backlog with the infrastructure brigade filter on, filter in the top. Technically, we also need the thrift models and finalize POM obsolescence if we wanted to get the POMs out by the release. If we do want to do this, it's going to need more than just Vishwa as a resource. So something to consider. But in the meantime, I think if you go back to the actual sprint, we will make some progress towards being able to do that in the future. There's another small task that we started that turned out to be a little bit more work than we expected. So we scoped that one in as well. Now that like half the work's been done, it shouldn't be too hard to get the rest of it done. There's also some work on converting the freestyle job for Garrett validation to pipeline. One of the contributors in the brigade named Alexis is going to be working on that. He's going to be doing that on an independent Jenkins so as not to impact the stability or performance of our main Jenkins because we had some problems when Ray was doing that investigation. And then finally, there's another member of the brigade who's going to be working on doing some analysis of what the right stuff is. Well, both tools, process, breakdown of documentation, and specifically what the users in the community, what skill sets they have. So, yeah.
So you made a comment about POM obsolescence and whether we're targeting K-release.
Yeah, if it's not targeted for K-release, then I mean, these stories will start making some progress towards it. But if we actually want it done for K-release, we also need to pull in 2 other stories from the top of the backlog.
Was there, what drove kind of the structuring of what the brigade was working on? It seems like. Sorry? It seems like the way it's structured, there are different people assigned to different things, right? So.
Correct. So, so rather than swarming on the POM obsolescence activity, so I think that the challenge there is that, well, currently there's Vishwa who's got some familiarity with Buck, and has done some investigation and deep dive. The other members of the brigade didn't really seem interested in doing that, nor did they have the skill sets. So it was kind of like, it's not, we don't have uniform resources here, right? We have people that want to participate in certain areas.
You threw it out there, I wasn't sure if it meant that the brigade could swarm and get this.
No, if we wanted to swarm, we'd probably need me or Thomas or Ray to join this brigade for this particular sprint. If we said it doesn't need to get in decay, then we could let Vishwa run with it, and if it's going to spill into the next release. So it was one of the priorities that we had originally talked about in the charter of the brigade, was getting it done for K release. And I'm just identifying an area right now that we need more resources on if we want to make it actually happen. So that's up to you guys. I don't really care.
I think we'll just let it unroll, how it unrolls.
Okay,
Into the beginning.
that's fine. So, okay, because that, I mean, yeah. We could also demote another story, the one that is currently assigned to me. We could put that back in the backlog if we wanted to.
So would that be enough?
Sorry?
But would that be enough there?
I think we need to do that one.
I mean, it's a defect, sure, but, I mean, yeah. We probably want that covered for the release regardless of whether you file us doesn't. Fine. We could also tell Vishwa to work on that one instead, ask him to work on that and demote some of the other ones. I mean, Vishwa is the most heavily loaded person in this particular sprint. The other members of the brigade, I think, are well loaded.
Say for expediency, you have 2-point counts to yourself as it is, and then Bishop is 2
Okay, there's also a couple of other. No, I guess just publish the new version. There's 2 other things that need to get merged from last sprint, and a re-release that needs to happen, which will take a little bit of time, but not very much. It's very, very concrete. Basically, the last story is to figure out what skill sets members of the community have when it comes to participants for documentation.
Remember the documentation.
So really what that story says is, do enough users in the community understand Git? Or if they don't want to learn Git to do documentation, it is learning Git too much of a barrier to entry, or can a workflow be established for them to do it? Because a lot of the documentation processes and tools that we're looking at are based on a backend Git repo, and then there's some, like Wiki, for example, that are not. And there's some advantages to doing the Git-based back documentation. There's some downsides as well. Anyway, the purpose of that was, is Venkat's going to...
We went through these, this is why I'm laughing. So
I know, we went through it in part 2.
Okay.
I think it's worth pulling and understanding it. I think one of the conclusions or quasi-conclusions that is drawn on the core side is there would be different types of documentation, which requires different skill sets. And so your developers would put code as close to the source as possible. But we wanted to make sure that we pulled the community and the learning for days, make sure we understand. Okay, I think that was it. And then the last part of this discussion, now that I've got 1 minute left, was, so what is the requirements in terms of maintenance, right? Is it 1 release or 2 releases? So I think I've told some folks, and I think the memory is different in terms of, I've heard some people say 1 and I've heard some people say 2. So,
Well, and there's also some people think it's 6 months.
Well, I think we always decided 2 releases, but then we always succeeded to maintain 1, which is.
Well, so we talked about having a deprecation policy for APIs of 2 releases.
Right. That's definitely true.
I don't know that we ever.
I mean, I remember having around Black Bear talking all the time, when we were talking about.
Maintaining 6 months.
Maintaining 6 months.
I think as far as testing, we've only done 1 release batch.
So I guess maybe regardless of what our long-term policy is, clearly, this time, it has to be, 2, because of the core dependency, and so we need to make sure that what we provide core with is.
okay, I'm trying to understand if it's the exception rather than the rule, or it's the rule.
I think something important to figure out here is that, like, for example, like, defining what's a feature enhancement and what's a bug and how those get pulled in is where we, I think, need to possibly be better at drawing the line, right? Like, refactoring the entire distributed systems part of ONOS, that's not a bug fix, right? That's a feature enhancement or feature improvement. There may be other bugs that we care about, and maybe we say those bug fixes are not, they're just going to be defects that we live with in the old version of the platform. Like, you know, redoing like intent domain and trying to port that back, or redoing gRPC and trying to, like, those are new features, or they're implemented. There may be bug fixes that get fixed along the way, but they're new features. And those things really shouldn't be backported. Because, especially if you want to obey like semantic versioning, well,
that's true. The tricky part comes in when you say the distributed system wasn't working, but in order to make it work, I need basically to refactor it entirely, right? So what is that? Is it a new feature because you refactor it entirely, or is it a bug fix because before it wasn't working? So that's where, because if you tell me gRPC, which before wasn't there, it's very clear that's a feature, right? Anyway, I feel it's going to be an endless discussion probably, and we have thousands of opinions on this, but yeah, I feel that's the gray area where people start to discuss probably.
Okay, well, let's just agree on the one release or two, and then we can take the other one on a case-by-case basis.
Core that's driving this question?
Yes.
No, I just want to understand what our policy is.
Well, the thing is,
the question,
so yes, so no, maybe this time around it's definitely core, right? We need to,
Agreed,
we're
but,
going to be releasing Kingfisher and we need to support 1A.
is it the exception? Has this always been has this always been the policy that we support the last two releases?
I don't know that we've ever.
we've never had a policy. Do we even support one release? I don't know.
We've brought some things back to one release, but we've never brought things back to release before.
So exactly, the reality was this, at the beginning we decided, I remember more than one meeting where we just decided we should support two. Then concretely we were supporting one, specifically because I was doing deployment when people were developing the master. People found the bug and I had to bring back bug fix. That was the main reason, mainly, why we were bringing back bug fix.
And sort of bug fix, deprecation, we take it to.
Deprecation is different. For API,
Because oftentimes people put it in the notes like.
Yeah, but I think,
but if I recall correctly, the discussions around the rate cardinal time frame, right, in there was the internet too, and I think the discussion there was hinging on the distinction between the bug and the feature.
Exactly.
We haven't seen that syncs up every 6 months.
Yeah, I was curious what they're on 1.7 now, or?
I'm not sure. The last one I knew that they actually synced up with was last May. Did they ever do December's for
I
me?
think they did 1.6, whatever that was.
1.6. Because what they do is they make bug fixes to whatever that back release is, and then we roll it forward. So,
Yeah.
I mean, would they go all the way up to 110? Presumably, if they're going to do it every 6 months.
That's a good question. I mean, I think part of the discussion we had before was as ON.Lab, we didn't want to support, do maintenance support, but other community members could step up and do that.
Yeah.
So, that's one reason.
I don't know that this meeting is the right place to decide final things.
Oh, I'm trying to understand the existing
It's not right on the
policy.
wiki, and it's not decided, we have to decide.
Okay, because it would be good to decide and then just make sure community or folks are aware so that the fixes get
Could send out an email when we decide.
I think you also have to define support too.
Okay, I think we're done. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.